Fire swallowed the city without warning. Roofs exploded as flames tore through wooden homes, sparks raining from the sky like burning snow. The air screamed, walls collapsing, timbers snapping, lives breaking apart in seconds. "Wah! Mommy! Daddy!" A child's cry cut through the chaos. His small body trembled as fire reflected in his tear-filled eyes. Smoke clawed at his lungs while the world he knew collapsed behind him. People ran, no direction, no hope. "Run! Help! Is anyone coming to save us?" The streets became rivers of panic. Some fell, some were trampled, some never stood up again. Above them, something moved, a presence so heavy it crushed hope itself. With every breath it took, malice gathered, thick, violent, suffocating. The flames were not an accident. This was not a disaster. It was a massacre. And as the city burned, one terrifying truth echoed through the smoke and screams. This was only the beginning. Two crimson eyes opened in the smoke. They weren't human. They weren't even alive. High above the burning streets, a massive shadow descended, its presence alone stealing the air from the city. The ground cracked beneath its steps as people scattered like ants. "Help! Save me! I don't want to die!" A man ran, tears streaming down his face, but it was already too late. The monster loomed over him, its body twisted with bones and flesh, skulls fused into its arms like trophies of past slaughters. Every step it took crushed homes and hope. Steam hissed from its beak-like face. Then the jaws slowly opened. Rows of jagged teeth glistened as dark energy crackled between them. Lightning danced along its maw as it inhaled deeply, gathering malice, hunger, destruction. This was no ordinary monster. This was a Demon King-class existence. And as its mouth opened wider, ready to erase another life from this world, one terrifying truth became clear. If no one stopped it, this city would be wiped out completely. The monster raised its head. Purple lightning twisted around its jaws as the air itself began to scream. Power spiraled inward, ripping debris from the streets, tearing flames into violent arcs. Gather. Gather. Malice condensed, thick, poisonous, overwhelming. The ground cracked as the creature inhaled, drawing in hatred born from countless deaths. Then, breath of malice, 4 times. A beam of pure destruction erupted forward. The streets vanished. Buildings were shredded in an instant, reduced to ash and screaming splinters. Fire was swallowed by something darker, something crueler. The blast carved through the city like judgment itself, leaving nothing but ruin behind. People didn't even have time to scream. The sky burned violet. This wasn't an attack meant to kill one person. It was meant to erase everything. And as the breath of malice tore across the city, one truth became painfully clear. Against this kind of power, hope itself was being annihilated. Purple lightning tore through the sky like a living blade. In a single breath, the energy slammed into a wooden building, exploding outward with a deafening roar. Flames devoured the walls as shattered beams and stone were hurled into the air. The shockwaves sent people flying, dust and fire swallowing their screams. Amid the chaos, a girl turned her head. Her eyes widened, not in panic, but in realization. That attack wasn't random. Someone had aimed it. Before she could move, another surge of violet power descended. The structure shattered completely, collapsing inward as fire spread like a plague. The ground trembled, cracking beneath the weight of destruction. This was no ordinary monster. Whoever wielded that power wasn't just killing. They were testing the city, testing its limits, testing its hope. And as the smoke rose and the purple light faded, one truth became undeniable. The real battle had only just begun. The purple lightning struck again, but this time it didn't break through. Bounce off. An armored warrior planted his feet, raising a massive golden shield just as the attack slammed into it. Sparks exploded across the air, the impact echoing like thunder through the streets. Another blast followed, just as fierce. Bounce off. Ancient symbols ignited across the shield's surface, locking together into a glowing hexagonal barrier. Holy Bastion. Divine energy surged forward, forcing the destruction to halt. The trembling ground steadied, and for the first time since the nightmare began, the city had a wall strong enough to endure. Behind him, the air shifted. A soft green glow flickered to life. A hero raised his staff as tiny lights, like spirits or fireflies, gathered around his hand, drawn by an unseen call. "Spirits of the earth," he whispered, voice calm amid the chaos. "Please grant me power." For a fleeting moment, the battlefield fell silent, and in that fragile stillness, nature itself began to answer. The spirits answered. Soft lights gathered in his hand, green and gold, warm and alive. They fluttered gently at first, then took shape. Butterflies. Formed from pure mana, they danced between his fingers as he drew back a glowing bowstring, power humming through the air. "Let the butterflies dance," he commanded, "and turn into the most magnificent arrows." The air trembled. The gentle lights spun faster, weaving together, multiplying, until the sky itself seemed to pulse with their radiance. Arrow dance of the butterflies. He released. The heavens erupted. A golden torrent poured down, tearing through smoke and flame. Each arrow pierced with unerring precision, shattering the purple energy in a blinding cascade. The impact shook the battlefield. Fire and dust blasted outward as the storm of arrows consumed the attack completely. And when the light finally faded, the city still stood, scarred, burning, but alive. For the first time since the nightmare began, hope burned brighter than the flames. The purple streak tore through the village like a living blade, warping the air as it passed. Roofs rattled, flames bent away in fear. In the chaos, the hero sensed it. Too fast, too precise. "Turn around!" He twisted mid-step as the attack curved back, hunting him with violent intent. Violet energy screamed through the street, carving a glowing scar where he'd stood a heartbeat ago. Then, fire answered. Golden flames erupted, coiling into a blazing form that roared with raw power. Heat flooded the battlefield as the hero charged straight through the shockwave, his aura burning brighter than the destruction around him. The clash was inevitable. Purple met gold, speed met resolute, and in that instant the village learned the truth. This was no mere skirmish. This was the opening strike of a battle that would decide everything. The fire spirit lunged forward and bit down. Purple energy shrieked as it was swallowed whole, crushed between burning jaws. The flames didn't just collide, they devoured. From the hero's stance, the inferno answered his will. Gluttonous infernal snake. The fire twisted and grew, coiling upward into a massive serpentine form. Its body rolled like molten gold, scales formed from living flame, each movement radiating hunger and heat. The ground beneath it blackened, air shimmering as if reality itself was melting. The snake reared back, towering above the battlefield, eyes blazing with endless appetite. This was no ordinary technique. It consumed energy, it consumed fear, it consumed enemies. Below, the hero stood firm, staff raised, robes snapping in the heat storm. His breath was steady, focused, because once the infernal snake was unleashed, there would be nothing left to escape its grasp. The infernal snake tightened its coils, and something inside the flames cracked. At its core, the violent energy core thrashed wildly, lightning tearing across its surface as it struggled to escape. The fire pressed in from every side, compressing, consuming, refusing to let go. Then, a shrill scream of power. A purple beam tore free, slicing through the air at blinding speed. One line became many, energy multiplying as it split and ricocheted, filling the battlefield with a deadly web of light. The sky fractured. Purple lines crossed again and again, shrieking as they cut through space itself. For a heartbeat, it looked unstoppable. And then, collapse. The core shattered. Fragments of violet crystal exploded outward, raining down in a violent storm, each piece stripped of its fury, its will broken by the flames that crushed it. As the light faded, only embers remained. The hero stood unmoving beneath the falling shards, fire dying down around him. The enemy's attack was finished, and this battle had already begun to turn. The embers hadn't settled before another blade moved. 100-layer cut! A violet edge flashed through the smoke, slicing the air itself as a shadow leapt forward. Precision, speed, every motion layered with lethal intent. Walrus Ivory, Shadow Assassin, level 31. He landed in a low stance, eyes sharp, blade humming with restrained power. The shattered battlefield reflected in his gaze as he measured the flames, the aftermath, and the threat that caused it. Behind him, footsteps approached, calm, confident. Elfire stepped forward, spirit light dancing around her fingers, a B-rank combatant, spirit archer, level 33. Her eyes swept the burning ruins. So this is the monster capable of pushing things this far. And then, the heat deepened. Edmund emerged from the firelight, staff blazing, a flame spirit hovering at his side like a watchful guardian. B-rank combatant, flame magician, level 45. Remember this, he said quietly. No matter how unusual the enemy or how overwhelming their power, the flames rose in answer. Never underestimate your opponent. 3 warriors stood ready. The battlefield burned anew, and the real fight was just beginning. The plan was already in motion. "Let's do our best," Adrian said, shield glowing with holy light. "If we can kill this monster quickly, we might still have enough time to grab a rank." Walrus Ivory, Holy Knight, level 38. He stepped forward without hesitation, placing himself between the chaos and the survivors behind him. Golden sigils pulsed across his shield, steady and unyielding. Then, something answered. A red eye opened in the smoke. The beast lowered its head, scales scraping as it inhaled deeply. Energy gathered in its throat, symbols burning crimson as its jaws spread wide. The air screamed. A chorus of distorted howls tore from the monster as power condensed, souls screaming as they were forced into shape. Soul Missile. The attack launched. A blood-red projectile ripped across the battlefield, tearing through the air with terrifying speed, its surface crawling with writhing runes and echoes of pain. Adrian braced himself, light flaring brighter. Because this was no wild attack, this was intent. And as the missile closed the distance, one truth became clear. This enemy wasn't just powerful. It was intelligent. The soul missile tore forward, screaming, twisting, hungry. But before it could reach its target, something answered from below. A surge of blue light exploded upward, spiraling like a living current. Wind howled as energy wrapped around a rising form, scales of light flickering into existence. The air shook. A dragon's roar split the battlefield. The blue force surged straight into the oncoming attack, power clashing as red and blue collided in a violent shockwave. The soul missile screamed, then faltered, its runes tearing apart under the overwhelming pressure. Dragon's cry. The energy lance punched through, shredding the missile into fragments of fading red light. The blast continued skyward, carving a glowing path through the smoke and clouds above. For a moment, silence. Then the echoes faded, and the battlefield was bathed in blue embers drifting down like sparks. The monster recoiled, its red eye narrowing. This wasn't just resistance. This was a warning, because now it knew it wasn't fighting prey. It was facing hunters. The monster staggered back, then steadied itself. Claws dug into broken stone as it straightened, its skull-adorned form looming once more. Glowing red eyes burned brighter as it slowly, deliberately turned, not in panic, in anger. Then the ground trembled. A massive shadow descended from above, wings cutting through the smoke as a true dragon lowered its head, eyes glowing with ancient power. The air itself bowed under its presence. Below it, a lone figure stepped forward. "So you're the monster," he said, voice calm but heavy with fury, "that burned down 3 cities and devoured countless humans?" His sword struck the ground with a ringing cry, golden light surging along its edge. "For your heinous actions, we, the Walrus Ivory Guild, will vanquish you." Eugene Geit, A-rank combatant, Dragon Knight. His eyes blazed as he smiled, not with arrogance, but with certainty. Because this was no longer a hunt, no longer a defense. This was judgment. And as dragon and knight stood as one, the battlefield knew. The true final clash had arrived. "Charge!" The command rang out like a battle horn. The dragon surged forward, wings beating thunder into the sky as it dove toward the monster below. Beneath it, warriors followed without hesitation, steel flashing, magic flaring, resolve burning brighter than the flames around them. Adrian led the charge, shield raised, holy light blazing as he smashed through falling debris. Behind him, blades sang, spells ignited, and the ground shook under synchronized footsteps. Above them all, the Dragon Knight advanced, calm, unstoppable. From the ruins, voices rose. "They're here! The Braves are here! Kill that monster! We're saved! We're finally saved!" Hope spread through the crowd like wildfire. For the first time since the city burned, fear loosened its grip. Tears mixed with cheers as survivors watched the heroes rush forward, backs straight, eyes unyielding. This wasn't just an attack, it was a promise. That the nightmare would end, that the dead would be answered for, and that today, humanity would fight back. The cheers didn't last. They twisted into screams. "No! How? What do we do? Someone save us!" Hope drained from their faces as the battlefield fell silent. Smoke rolled across the ground, embers dying like fading stars. At the far end of the ruins, something stood. A shadow rose slowly, its presence crushing the air itself. Red eyes burned through the smoke, cold and merciless, reflecting in pools of blood and broken stone. The The ground trembled as it stepped forward. Kill, kill them all, kill more for the demon god. The whispers crawled into the air, soaked in madness and devotion. Then the truth revealed itself. Demon King form. Its body reshaped, muscles swelling, multiple cores igniting across its chest like infernal suns. Power poured out unchecked, warping the ground beneath its feet. This wasn't the monster they'd been fighting. This was its true self. And as the demon straightened, towering over the battlefield, one truth crushed every heart. The real battle hadn't begun. It had just been invited. The Demon King stood alone, and the battlefield lay broken at its feet. Bodies scattered across the ruined ground, armor cracked, weapons shattered. Heroes who moments ago charged with hope now lay unmoving, their strength erased in an instant. The monster didn't roar. It didn't rage. It simply held one of them aloft, like discarded prey. "Please, spare me!" The plea vanished into the rain of ash. All around, the truth spread faster than the fire. "The Braves have been defeated! Even the Walrus Ivory Guild couldn't kill it! We're doomed! It's a Demon King-class monster! Run!" Panic exploded through the streets. Survivors fled blindly, trampling debris and each other, terror drowning out reason. Above it all, the Demon King remained still, unhurried, unchallenged. The glowing cores in its chest pulsed like a heartbeat, steady and merciless. This wasn't a battle anymore. It was a massacre. And as hope collapsed under the weight of despair, one final truth settled over the city. No one left was strong enough to stop it. The Demon King took one step forward, and the ground split beneath its feet. Debris erupted as its shadow stretched across the ruins, intent clear, slaughter inevitable. Then, "Foul demon, stop right there!" The shout cut through the chaos like a blade. The Demon King froze. Its head snapped toward the voice, molten eyes widening, confused, surprised. For the first time since revealing its true form, something had caught its attention. High above the flames, a lone figure stood atop a burning rooftop. Smoke curled around a small silhouette, unmoving, fearless. Firelight reflected off calm, glowing eyes as embers drifted past like falling stars. The city burned beneath him. The Demon King watched him. And in that brief, fragile moment, when despair should have ruled unchallenged, a new presence entered the battlefield. Not with overwhelming power, not with thunderous force, but with absolute confidence. As the flames roared higher and the demons stared upward, one truth became impossible to ignore. The story wasn't over yet. The flames surged higher, and the Demon King stared upward, confused by the tiny figure daring to challenge it. Then a voice rang out again, clear, sharp, and completely unafraid. "Or else we will smack your little butt!" Silence. Smoke drifted. Embers floated in the air. Perched on the burning rooftop stood not a legendary warrior, but a pig, chest puffed out, eyes blazing with confidence. And atop its head, a small mushroom hero, cloak fluttering, fists clenched, staring down the Demon King without the slightest trace of fear. The pig snorted defiantly, hooves planted firm on the roof's edge, as if daring the demon to take one more step. Below them, the city burned. Around them, despair still lingered. Yet somehow, hope had arrived. Not in the form of an army, not as a chosen savior, but as an unlikely duo, bold, ridiculous, and fearless. The Demon King's eyes narrowed, and for the first time since descending upon this world, it hesitated, because something far more dangerous than power now stood before it. A hero who wasn't afraid at all. To be continued.